Hi. That pitch thing? All right. Hello, everyone. This is a Vulcan Roundtable. So I'm Chronaki. I'm the Secretary General for HL7 Europe, and I was honored also to be the co-lead, thanks to Amy Kramer, of the API project in Vulcan, which Joao has been cheerfully supporting us with, and he presented also earlier. So we have a panel here where we will actually discuss something that was like the elephant in the room here, and that's clinical trials, the UDP protocol, what Vulcan does, and where Europe stands and where the world stands, and so on. So we have 4 panelists that describe very different perspectives, and also 2 EU projects that have been funded quite generously to contribute to this space. In fact, the READY project is the bigger project that I have ever participated with, 67 million budget and 6 years to actually implement these clinical trials that are equitable, right? But we will hear more. Let me get the first slide here. The other project, I am the scientific coordinator, and it has a vision. And for you that come from the US, you probably know the blue button if you were young enough at that time to read, yeah? So this is about everyone having access to their health data and being able to download them in a computable format at a click of a button. And that's in the Health DS, and the format is FHIR, and that's the European Electronic Health Record Exchange format. And at HL7 Europe, we are making a lot of effort to work with member states to make this happen. So what does the Health DS say that relates to this button, the blue button in the US or the yellow button in Europe? So it says that the data go into a portal, and then the citizen has the ability to download a copy of the data. That's the yellow button. They can also insert data to the they can correct the data. You know, how many of you have gone to a GP and says, you know, you are taking these medicines, and no, I'm not taking actually these medicines, I'm taking something else. And then, of course, you can provide your data to another app, to another service. And for the purpose of here, what we are discussing, that could be a search for clinical trials. The regulation, this is approved. It started in March, and it will be in effect from 2029 for the different priority data categories. So the key point is that in this project called XAir with a button, we have a button and a label, which means that applications, portals, EHRs will be labeled for their capabilities, what kind of data they are able to export, what type of data they can import, could they do it with a QR code, could they do it with a button, actual button, and so on. So this is very much related to GDPR and the format, and this is also supports the overall high-level policy of Europe about digital compass, which includes everyone having access to their health data, all of their health data, by 2030. So this is what we do. And to make this tangible, I would like to introduce you my alter ego. That's Marina. So Marina is a persona. She's 40 years old. That's 20 years younger than me. And but still, I mean, you can dream, right? Or you can think back. She also has high cholesterol, something that I was diagnosed this summer, and high blood pressure. I don't have that. And she wants to make a difference in her health, right? So she wants to exercise, she wants to eat healthy, she wants to take care of herself, monitor her physiological parameters. She's missing the full picture. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. You have lots of paper documents. And if you want to know whether your cholesterol was, how the trajectory of your cholesterol happened the last 5 years, well, that's kind of double entry, right? So with the eHealth and the yellow button, you can change the things. You can download the data, share it in a vault or in an app, and you can see nice graphs. You can consult foreign doctors for second opinions, and maybe you can also try experimental drugs if they fit your profile, right? Okay. So Marina, our story, Marina, she took the next steps and became active user. She asked for a second opinion. She received for a global well-known specialist. And now she does not have to be like an active follower of her doctor, do what the doctor says. She has an opinion. She is actually participating in her health. And she actually manages her condition. So she can actually, so this was not retested by our partners in clinical trials. That's a perspective, a third perspective of the story. And they said that she shared her FHIR data with a clinical trials database, and she asked to participate to clinical trials related to cholesterol. Yeah. She was selected for screening, and because there was a clinical trial in a hospital that was right around the block. And this was a new experimental drug that may lower cholesterol without impact on her liver. Yeah? So she has control of her life, and that's what the yellow button movement is about. So the first step is the yellow button, and as Lao Tzu said, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. She logs into the health system, gets her data, links her data to a secure site, and all of this is possible. So that's what EUCRF is about. And with that, I'd like to give you the floor.
Thank you. So first of all, thank you, Catherine. For,
excuse me, I have to introduce.
No, I'll introduce myself.
Okay, go ahead.
So first of all, thank you for getting all of us together. I think we, although three of us are actually working on the Ready project here, we didn't know the story that we're going to tell you today. And I think what you did in talking to all of us is we figured out, you put us in an order that hopefully we start with the project that's already delivering, like EUCRF. We go to a project that I'm going to tell you about, which is at the beginning of its life. And then we go to a use case, and then how to further scale on what EUCRF has done, and then what is the life like down the road when you come to
Actually, it's a reality check. Yoanni, we have him here from the market point of view. He's our reality check.
Exactly. So
we can increase our vision stepwise from a hospital to a pan-European network, and then we have the market saying, you know, are we going to get any money out of this, or this is death on arrival?
So I'll tell you a little bit about myself before I tell you about Ready. So I work for the Synergist. So you have the synergist.org there if you want to follow it. And then, so I lead the technology strategy and look after several programs, two of which are the biggest ones for me are CTDN, which is a project out of Boston, which is also around clinical trials. And the second project I look after is IHI Ready, where I lead one of the work packages. So this project is large in the sense of, yes, the euros, but also in terms of organizations, there's 73 organizations on board. So it's quite a feat in terms of stakeholder management, but at the same time, it's also great to be in a room where there's so many supporters with you. So I think that's the positive side of it, yeah? In these institutions who are there you have pharma, you have research institutes, you have patient organizations, and you have regulatory agencies. So it's the full mix. So let's tell you a little bit about Ready. So if we go to the next slide, I have it, is it? Yeah. So what we're trying to do is to make the clinical trial space more equitable, increase recruitment in clinical trials such that we can reach the underserved and underrepresented populations of Europe. There's more information which you can find on the Ready website, which is www.ihi.ready.org. And there's also LinkedIn and other pages on social media that you can follow. So I'll just give you a one-slide review of what Ready is about. We have several solutions that we have to work on over the 6 years. We're now in year 1. So it's all about aligning stakeholders to serve underserved and underrepresented communities, and first of all, define what they are and define what it is the barriers that they have that prevents them from accessing clinical trials. The other solutions that we have are around tools and training. So we have to provide the tools and trainings to help people to understand what clinical trials are about, how to read them, how to get support. We have to do mapping of the characteristics to the populations, and also the mapping to real-world data. And we have to do standardized descriptors. And finally, the part that my team works on is the area of the digital platform that supports and underpins all of this. So that, in a very short way, is ready. And what is so special about the digital platform? Well, our job is to take the registry information from ct.gov, CTIS, and so on, and structure it fully in USDM format. So parse the data, use AI to help to structure every single piece of text we can in USDM format, but also to take the eligibility criteria and use the mechanisms that USDM gives for us to structure that as well. Once we've done that, we can then pass it down the line to secondary use into or the next down the line process, which is where FHIR comes in. And with FHIR, we can bring the further level of detail, which takes us to the next stage. And with that, I hand over to you.
Yes, and
here's the next stage.
Yes, here's the next stage. And Jannik, we are very happy to have you because he's our reality. This is what is happening today in one hospital. And he's a medical doctor and a clinical epidemiologist at Aarhus University. He's a partner in the READY project, and what they do today is that they match EHRs to structure clinical trial protocol data, such as eligibility criteria. They don't yet use UDP, by the way, but maybe they will if they find it easy to use in the future. Mm-hmm. But please, the floor is yours, Jannik. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Catherine, and thank you for inviting me. And as Catherine said, I'm a medical doctor. But I've spent the last 3-4 years working on a PhD using using healthcare data. So I've really became not only a medical doctor, but also a data nerd. And I will try to explain today how high quality health data could be used to benefit patients. And all this came from the idea of the READY project. We are working together at the Aarhus University Hospital with the Department of Hematology, where I think they right now have 50 ongoing clinical trials. So we are really just trying to make a bridge between the clinical perspective and the use of data to benefit the patients. So I'll try to walk you through what we're doing right now. But this came down to my colleagues at the Department of Hematology said, can we do something about finding eligible patients for clinical trials? Right now, we are doing it by hand. We might see patients in the outpatient clinic. We might miss them because we don't have time to include them in clinical trials. Maybe we don't know. I've been working at the Department of Oncology. I didn't knew all the trials going on there, so maybe we just missed them because of lack of knowledge. And then we tried to build this bridge. First off, so in Denmark we have really good electronic healthcare record data. So it's well structured, it's high quality, it's granulated, and all this data, every time a patient is seen at the hospital, structured data is passed into a data warehouse, a data unit. And this data unit, we call it the data unit at Aarhus University. They really have the ability to dig into data regarding diagnosis, EKG, electronic heart rate measurements. They know everything about the patients, where they live. They have all blood samples, medication used, height, weight, stuff like that. So what we tried to do was that what if we were able to use this high quality electronic healthcare data to find potential patients for trials. So we took one of the trials undergoing at the Department of Hematology. Then I'm in the middle with the two arrows. I tried to build a bridge between the clinic and the data unit at Aarhus University Hospital. So we have like 3 stakeholders that we work together, but we don't know the same stuff, and sometimes we forget that stuff going on at the clinic is made to data, and data can actually be used pretty well in the clinic as well. So first off, we tried to take a protocol from the Department of Hematology, and this was an unstructured protocol. And then we tried to turn it into something that the data unit could use. So we tried to take the inclusion-exclusion criteria, structure it into rows and columns. Then we took this structured protocol data and we sent it to the data units, the data warehouse. And the data warehouse and the data unit at Aarhus University is really nice. Every time I go over there and I have a question or an idea, they simply just say, yeah, we can do that. We can figure that out. So it took them 14 days, and then they came with a patient list. So possible patient pre-screened using electronic healthcare record data that could be eligible for this trial undergoing at Department of Hematology. Right now we're trying to make it a more automated process, and I'm going to come back to how this can be even more streamlined and efficient. I just took some key advantages from this, and we're still to validate this process, but we at least know that we have patient and we are able to do this with the data. But the advantages is that we can make trials more accessible to a larger patient population. Hopefully we can increase the diversity among included participants. I like Catherine's example with Marina, but Marina is also a patient that is socioeconomic. She have the resources to participate and share her data, but we have a lot of patients that is not able to do this because of the resources.
She's also 40 years old.
Yeah, she's old. And hopefully this will speed up and streamline the inclusion process. I also have some considerations about this, because I know that the electronic healthcare data we use is of high quality, and it needs to be well structured to do this. Otherwise, we're going to have problems doing this. Yeah. And pre-screening, it must be some kind of balance between getting too many patients on this patient list or getting too few patients. Because if I'm handing in a patient list with 100 patients to the PI, the medical doctor at the department, they're not going to go through all 100 patients. That's too time expensive. But on the other hand, I might be too specific, and I might miss some patients. So right now the limitation is that we have some regulatory constraints that limit us to do this pre-screening on trials done at Aarhus University Hospital. This means that even though I know that there's a trial undergoing just south the border in Germany, and I know that I have a patient that matched this trial, I'm not allowed to match the patient. It's only patient treated at the hospital, so if you're seen at the general practitioner and a lot of trials is being done at the primary care sector right now, we are missing those patients. And unfortunately, right now we have to do this manual structuring of the protocol. But however, if we zoomed out from this is the, I tried to make the the Aarhus University Hospital ecosystem. But if we zoomed out and we instead tried to take this protocol and put it into this ready platform that pulled trial protocols, then we might have some of the manual laboring of structuring clinical protocols done, and that would save a lot of time. Yeah. Okay. And
many thanks.
Very good, Peter.
Now, I think we will do a speed pass through everyone so that we can hear also from the audience. The next speaker will speak to us. This is Peter Casteleyn with a lot of experience in the tech pharma domain and the co-lead of the eSource task force. Some of you know about it, but now you will know more. And I think what he would like to say to us is how we go from the one hospital to Europe or the world, so that we can have world trials. Some of you mentioned that earlier. Please, Peter.
Yep. Thanks, Catherine, for the introduction and for having me on stage here. So yes, I've some experience in the area of electronic health records, but primarily also from a sponsor perspective in clinical trials. With that said, what we heard this morning was Danish ministry saying, need to collaborate, absolutely. And keep the health workers in mind, because those are the primary reason and the primary constraint at this point in time for a number of elements. So with that, and a few of the previous presentations, and I'm not going to dwell too much on this, and from a science perspective, because from an IHD, which I'm representing here, the European Institute for Innovation Through Health Data, we're bringing together interested partners in health data, and industry sponsors, but also sites, and also regulatory or other organizations that are having a stake in this area. And the area that I'm focusing on is e-sourcing. And e-source means like, okay, we're capturing quite some data, and we heard that in one of the previous talks already, so I'm not going to dwell on that. A lot of data is duplicated manually, and it has a lot of burden to the sites, but also to the sponsors. I'm going to skip this slide then. So what we've done is that collaboration element that we heard this morning, we put in practice. As Catherine was referring to, this is a use case. This is its early stages, where we are targeting e-sourcing is not at its early stages. Vulcan has been already in place and has been helping out on the technical elements. Is it feasible? Yes, technically it's feasible. But now, how can we make the next step? How can we scale this effectively? And that's where we're bringing together institutions that have some experience in this domain, as well as sponsors with that experience. So the names that you see here are forming the core team from the eSource task force. Under the guidance of IHD, bring them together. What's the best practices? How can we deliver this at scale? How can we make this work effectively? And what we've been doing up till now with Live for Life means like the eSource task force is in existence for a bit more than a year. We've been putting together some best practices on let's say based in published reports, but also publications in ACT journals and others. And we've been doing a number of webinars. All of that with the intention to make this capability available and known for the rest of the world, if I might call it like that. So we have also a number of reference groups with study sites as well as sponsors, and we're setting up also a technology vendor reference group because, yes, you need to have technology also available and adopted more broadly than it is today. Having said that, we do have already a number of scaling experiences or examples and testimonials from two of our partners, one from a site perspective and one from a sponsor perspective. I'm not going to dive into how much this e-sourcing capability has as benefits, how much more time becomes available for the people in the institutions to look into care instead of having to enter data manually. All of that is already there. What I'm focusing on in this example here is their scaling capabilities. And scaling means, in this case, from a site perspective, instead of having to enter manually data, this institution has been doing this for, let's say, since 2024 started, so last year they started, having already avoided to enter data manually for 17,000 data points. We're a bit more than halfway through the year, and they're already at 50,000. So all of their new studies are using this type of technology, reducing the burden to the to their clinical research coordinators tremendously with about 50% or something like that. Another, excuse me, another example from a sponsor who was pretty new to this, well, not new to the concept, but new to the task force, and said, oh, this is some very interesting insights and information, took them along, and from, let's say, in less than a year, they went from thinking and choosing a solution to having the first study and the first data points being transferred. So it is all about connecting the dots and working together. So what I would like to share at the last slide here is interoperability is available through standards. I'm not going to say this again because it has been mentioned before, but it's true. This capability of EHR to EDC has been looked into for more than 20 years already. It's now reality. It is feasible. However, in Europe, we're still lagging a bit behind. And I'm not going to steal the thunder from my colleague here.
Please.
But what we see is that there is an opportunity. IPS Plus, which EUCRF program is putting together, allows that identification of data elements in FHIR format that is relevant for a clinical study in CDASH or CDISC formats, allowing that bridging of clinical care and clinical research while streamlining the scaling. So there's a big opportunity here because there is still some work to be done.
Thank you. And now I would like to introduce Yoanni Matsakis, who is a very old colleague of mine, and before I was 40. And he's also the vice chair of EUCRF, the European Association of Clinical Research Organizations. And he will give us the market perspective before we get the chance to get some 1-minute interventions. So please,
So
keep it short and sweet.
thank you, Catherine, for this introduction, and I must say for the whole invitation, because I came here with the task to write 2-3 slides, but I come out with a list of action items like that, so I'm happy.
That's the value of Vulcan.
I was looking for some work, and I found a lot. So at the moment, the view of the clinical research world is that Europe is losing grounds against the US and mainly the Far East, China. There is a loss of competitiveness. And you can see here a few of the figures which demonstrate that. At the same time, the number of clinical trials tends to increase significantly. And as you can see, the CROs, so you in your slide you mentioned a technology group. The European CRO Federation is made of, I will say a word after that, of many companies, including many IT companies now. It's not anymore the classical CROs that you may have heard of. But still 70% of the clinical research activity is subcontracted to CROs. And more than 70% of the clinical trials are now EDC powered, almost 100%. And those providers are also falling in the category, in the definition of what today we call CRO. So how do we do to reduce this loss of competitiveness? What are the challenges which we have? We have many challenges, and one first domain is harmonization of the EU regulation across the member states, because there are implementation features, and this has been pointed out by the Mario Draghi report, are implemented differently in the various countries. And that's the case, for instance, of GDPR. So that's a domain where we wanted to be very active and produce something. Then we see, and that's the current focus, I would say, for most of the CROs, that decentralized clinical trials are bringing something. They're enabling to reach patients at home. They are reducing travel time for patients. And for instance, if we take the e-consent, we've run several test trials with e-consent. We've seen that we have reduced the recruitment time by 3, and that we had 100% compliance of the patient consents, which has reduced for 40% the monitoring time. So you see there are very important measures. There are a series of things that will improve competitiveness. And then we come to the EHDS. And so that is the reason why EUCRF has been involved in the EUCRF project, because we see the high burden that is weighing on the shoulders of our practitioners in the hospitals, the site staff. They feel like administrative people entering all the day data in various systems and not taking care of any patient anymore. So that's a profound feeling in the hospital systems today, and I think in most of the countries in Europe. They are understaffed. So this e-source staff is an essential thing, and which is has not yet reached the consciousness of most of our executive people. So that is why I'm really delighted to be here, to have heard all those things, and of course we are going to follow up very much on this topic. Just a word about EUCRF. EUCRF is a non-for-profit entity. It was founded in 2005, and its goal, it has become, with the years, stakeholders for most of the key institutions in Europe, the European Commission, all what has to do, of course, with clinical trials, and with patient associations, with the medtech industry, and the goal is really to enhance the quality and the impact of clinical research by cultivating excellence among the CROs. So again, we use the term CROs, but it should be better defined. Over the years, we now represent more than 450 companies in 32 countries. 90% of them are being SMEs, as defined by the European Commission. So that's a very important point. So our members, our primary members, are national associations. And you can see that French, German, Belgian associations are very strong. They have a lot of companies among their membership. But we have smaller ones, and we have associate members, for which there is no national association, but they can adhere to EUCRF. So we are active in a number of domains, and in the last 7 years, we've established a code of conduct for service providers that has been adopted by the European Data Protection Board, and that harmonizes the implementation of GDPR for all what has to do with clinical research for service providers. So this, it has been approved in September, officially 24, and the monitoring body is being finalized in the current weeks, and so we will start adherence to the code in the beginning of 26. And we participated in the EUCRF project precisely because we see the challenge with e-source, with what the European health data space can deliver for clinical research. So I just want to say a word of what we are doing as EUCRF in EUCRF, as we are having this reservoir of so many companies, in CRO service providers of any kind. We are responsible for an open call for practical implementation, use cases, demonstrators in different business areas, and we have identified a number of business cases, among which the one you have so well already demonstrated, but this time with the involvement of clinical trials. And of course, e-source is also one of our concerns, major concern, I would say. Because there is the push of the practitioners, as I said. And so this call is open for the moment, and it will be disclosed, the result of this open call at the EUCRF conference, which is organized in February in Amsterdam. That's for me, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. Just to highlight one point here. The eHealth regulation indicates that all electronic health record systems will have an interoperability and an auditing component. The interoperability component right now is only for primary use of data in 6 data categories: patient summaries, laboratories, images, and so on, discharge reports. So what we are doing here is essentially trying to use, and I hope we will do it also in READY and in Vulcan, we are trying to use this opportunity, this window of opportunity with the interoperability component, and see how this can be a bridge that connects us to the clinical world. But now I'd like to mention that we have 1 minute interventions, and we will be strict, I hope, if I can manage it with my southern disposition. So the first one is Rebecca Baker from CDISC. Who do we have here online?
Yeah.
Hi. Hi, Rebecca.
Hello. Hi. Thank you for having me. So standardization and collaboration across SDOs is critical for data sharing in the EHGS to be successful. Each SDO has content that they've been working on for 20 to 30 years, and they're each part of the data ecosystem. And only through connecting the pieces will we achieve the full life cycle of health ecosystem in the EHDS. And CDISC is working towards expanding, connecting, and digitizing our standards. And you saw Hugh's presentation earlier. We aim to expand and enable standards with a standards-driven end-to-end automation across the clinical study information lifecycle. And 2 examples of what we're participating in is XShare, which you just heard about, and then the IHE Ready project. And so those are the solutions, and I look forward to seeing how it all rolls out.
And now, thank you. But it's not only CDISC there; it's also Vulcan. So maybe you can share us
yes.
the UDP. How is CDISC and HL7 collaborating in the UDP, and how you can support us, poor people?
Yes. Apologies. I meant to mention Vulcan as well, with the Vulcan UDP project as the umbrella covering the USDM, connecting to FHIR, connecting to the protocol, and I see the USDM as connecting to the entire CDISC ecosystem of clinical research. And if you think about it, OMOP and FHIR and CDISC work together in that FHIR is healthcare and exchanges data for patients and providers and clinical care, whereas you have OMOP, you can see the signals, and then CDISC, you have your hypothesis that you've seen those signals from, and then you do a randomized clinical trial using the CDISC content.
Thank you, Rebecca. Your minute is off. We want to give 1 minute to Hugh, and we don't have a slide, sorry.
Is that working? That's red now. Yes, good, right. Yeah, so, I mean, you saw the slide that I showed earlier. I suspect many of you were in the room earlier, where we've got the 3 elements of the project. So we've got a piece of it coming from effectively the regulator saying what we must do. You've got another piece of it that's, as Rebecca's just said, from CDISC and Trancelerate, with a piece of their models. And then you've got Vulcan sitting at the bottom of that, where we're actually providing that FHIR layer and integrating things together. You know all that bit, it's all been said. I'd point out one extra thing in this, though. The thing that Vulcan has been doing and will continue to do is to pick up the elements that are maybe missing somewhere else and try and bring them all together. So into this mix, I'd bring our real-world data project, where we're trying to define what constitutes criteria for bringing in real-world data, and I'd pick up the adverse event project, because those are all elements which come together as part of this e-source. And that really is what Vulcan is trying to do, is to bring together pieces and provide a framework in which some of this development work can be done.
Thank you, Hugh. Thank you. Next, we have Luke Nicholas. Luke Nicholas is our public health emergencies person. So 1 minute, Luke, because we would like also to hear from the EMA. And I know we are running a little bit on the edge of time. Please, Luke.
Thank you very much, Catherine, and thank you for the invitation. Actually, we have been living in a world where primary and secondary use were totally separate worlds. People were not speaking together, even at public authorities level. So we need to stop this. And basically, what we need to do, in my opinion, is that we can't do any more things without taking in consideration of what this other world needs. So we need to come to build bridges between the two worlds, and that's what we're trying to do in this year. And I think that the EGS, and in particular the European Health Records Exchange format, and the extension that we have been working on in each year, the IPS Plus, is really a tremendous opportunity because it really provides the reference on which everybody can begin to build new workflows, new processes. And you need to imagine, I will just give one example to build on what Peter has been saying and other speakers also. Just imagine the budget which is used in a country like my country in Belgium just to code data only for one purpose, secondary use purpose for reimbursement person in hospitals. It's tens of millions of euros of people, of doctors, which are only used for coding. That's the same stuff than for clinical research. That's absurd, completely absurd. Thus, we have a moral and ethical obligation, basically, to connect those two worlds today, not only to improve efficacy and efficiency, but because this is the key to added value in the healthcare system.
Thank you very much, Luke. Thank you for being here. And last but not least, Panagiotis from EMA. Thank you very much for joining our trenches. And please give us the position of the regulator. You saw the industry, what it said. You saw the innovators. What does the agency say?
Thank you, Katerina. Thank you, colleagues, for this invitation. Current times and challenges, and it is not the first time it happens. It happens also to life. So the point I'd like to make here is that in those challenging times, we have to choose actually our wins. Build critical mass via concentrated efforts first, and data standardization. I don't know, Catherine, if we can share 2-3 slides that I create to go through them quickly to increase awareness, or would we like me to share it?
You just have to speak to them. We don't have the capability, and we have just 1 minute, so please.
Okay.
We will share it with the audience.
Okay. The European Medicine Network is actually a system for regulating medicines in Europe and it's unique in the world. It's a closely coordinated regulatory network of national competent authorities, the European Medicine Agency, and the European Commission. And it's about 4,000 experts coming from 50 national authorities to keep about, let's say, 500,000 medicine safe in the European market. In the slides I have selected some key documents to show how the network is thinking, what has been planned, and what is the way forward based on the questions and the remarks that all the colleagues mentioned here today. Mm-hmm. I have also created links for people who want to spend some time with that. And for this, from this particular, let's say, guidelines, I have selected 2, let's say, workstream, the roadmaps related to strategy and governance workstream and the data interoperability workstream to show the connections and the way forward from the network in relation to health data space. It's very important for me to mention that it was a decision from the network years ago to select FHIR as a common standard for digital transmission. That's why several EU systems are already using FHIR, Spore RMS, labeling, the veterinary database, the clinical trial navigator that was an early CISA pilot. We are piloting the EUCRF public portal in FHIR. And as Hugh and other colleagues has mentioned, we are partners in the Vulcan UDP projects in FHIR. We participate in the Vulcan, Gravity Health, Kitwick, and EMA-TRACK. We are also participating in the EBM on FHIR study registry to test the EUCRF operational aspects in FHIR as well. And ultimately, we plan a joint EMA and HL7 Europe. Catherine, we can also share it with the colleagues here today for the user acceptance test and hackathon to feed ISO IDMP identifiers in the European health data space profiles for interoperability. Join the efforts. A lot of things have been mentioned by the other colleagues. I don't think it's It's just the EMA regulators who do the job. As we discussed with Luca and Rebecca in our own, let's say, tape discussion online, it's a bottom-up approach. Everybody should be part of it. It's not just one for all. It is the other way around, all together to deliver. It's delivery time. So we need to choose our wins. Very important for these times.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And I'm sorry if we kept you a little bit over time. What I think we wanted to show you is that there is something happening here. Things have been bowling for the last 20 years or so in the ADC space. And now, for the first time, we have all the stakeholders coming together. And they are coming together digitally and in person. But I forgot you, and I'm sorry for that. So I'd like to give the last word to the National Agency of Norway. I showed you what I wanted to show you, but maybe you would like to say a few words.
Yes.
And I indulge you to wait for us for 1 minute. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm from Norwegian Center for eHealth Research, and I just want to share a story on our experience with the use of Vulcan. As one of 45 partners in the Gravitate Health, we see the participation in the Vulcan project is important, since it also aligns with some of the national implementation activities we are following on the electronic product information paper in the pack using FIRE resources. I saw it was listed on the screen earlier today, this project. So the specific effort to develop needed interoperability resources in the form for an HL7 implementation guide for the electronic product information paper in the pack, Norwegian we say pakningsvedlegget. It has been so important for the progress in this project. The FIRE implementation guide follows the European Common Standards for electronic product information. So we just want to say that with this, we could accelerate development, and in a short time, around 18 months, the FAIR electronic product information implementation guide was balloted. And this has been a very important milestone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for this testimonial, and thank you all of you for indulging. We will swiftly leave the stage, but I think the discussion here has only begun. As Yoanni said, we all have a long list of things to do and make things happen. Thank you.